And then I give the floor to our speaker for the first session, Julien Cappelle from CIRA. And he's going to talk about much more on the scientific than conclusions from the different work packages in the project.
Good morning. So my name is Julien. I work for CIRA. And so CIRA was a coordinator of the work package 3, the energy work package with CAPEC from China. And so I show you some of the results of the project, but specifically on how we try to identify research collaboration opportunities between the partners, and a few examples of outcomes of it. So it was mentioned by Daniel that one of the first work that was done under work package 2 was a literature review to identify the research topics, main research topics in EU and China. So it was 2 separate searches, but with the same protocol. In EU, so in English, and for China, it was in both Chinese and English, with the same terms used in Chinese and English. It was focused only to papers from the last 2 years, and 360 papers were selected from these searches for each EU and China, and they were then scored based on abstracts, and only the papers that describe original research in EU or China were kept. And that's how we got this list of disease topics. The main one for EU, so that's influenza, tuberculosis, and then a lot of other diseases of less importance. And for China, it was mostly first influenza also, major one, and then a few others. So influenza was clearly a big common topic, and then you see specific disease like PRRS for China. And actually it's matches well with the animals that were the main topics of research. And you can see a clear difference between China, well, pigs is the animal with most research on, while in Europe it will be cattle mostly. And China is the main producer of pigs in the world, while EU is one of the main producers of dairy products also, in EU we saw more balanced research between lab and EP, while in China there is really a lot more of lab-based research than epidemiology, and that's actually one of the things that was clear in LinkTADs is the need for increasing the collaboration and epidemiological research in China, and there is a training on epidemiology that was ongoing and that was enforced by LinkTADs also. So then, what we try to do is to inside the consortium try to identify specific topics. In this case, diseases. Or model diseases for people that are not working on a specific disease but are working on methods or approaches to work on and to start new collaborations. That's one of the main objectives of the project, is to initiate new collaborations. So we did a first online questionnaire to reduce the list of potential topics and disease. So it was mostly people from the consortium that replied to this from China, EU, from AP and lab. And so we had a good reply from the partners. And when we put all the results together, we had a scoring system based on people's main interests. And when we don't separate AP and lab interest and EU and China, so I didn't choose that one, was at the top as expected. But African swine fever was actually the most important one for all partners, and probably because it's emerged in Europe recently, and it's a big country in Europe. And as China, we will see, is the main producer of pig products in the world. They're very concerned by the potential emergence of African swine fever in China. And there's also a list of other diseases. So it was not always the same diseases between epidemiologists and labs, but African swine fever was at the top, and then you can see different diseases. So we kept the one at the top, and also the one in which we had at least one European and one Chinese partners interested, and at least one lab and one epidemiology team interested. And that's how we came with a list of 10 diseases, including African swine fever, influenza, IMR, and Japanese disease. So we looked at who was interested, just a general classification of diseases, but we got here a lot of pig disease that were interesting the same kind of partners, while other diseases like obesity were interesting other partners. But it helped us to shape the workshop that led to the definitions of the collaborations. And this workshop was actually held in Qingdao and Cappelle. And we used participatory methods. So what we did is we grouped people interested in a topic, and we started by asking them what is their interest, what they'd like to do, and then we tried to, so everyone wrote his interest or a few interests on post-it, and we then tried to group them in work packages or questions, try to build a project together that would address all the different interests of the partners. And then after we did that, we weighted the different interests with Python, and actually it was very successful to use this particular method because it's like a game, so everyone was really interested. It was a good atmosphere in the room, and it was easier to build and to discuss and to, it was really nice. And actually, in the end, we got 8 different concept notes, actually 7 drafts that were like the initiates of a proposal, of a project proposal, something that can be used to build a project proposal later. And actually, the one on antimicrobial resistance has been discussed more deeply, and there is a H2020 project proposal that is under discussion between members of the consortium, but also with partner outside of the consortium. And there's actually one project that has been funded during the LinkTADs project on Japanese between the Shanghai Veterinary Research Institute, the Swedish Veterinary and CRs, and discuss. We also, of course, try to list for each concept notes what were the potential fundings to fund these projects. So I give you two examples, one on the Japanese entities project and one on a small work on the ASF. So on GE, what's actually the origin of this work is GE in China. GE is the main cause of acute encephalitis in Asia and in the world actually. And it's a disease for which we have a vaccine, but it's still the main cause of encephalitis in the world. And there is one new question in China. So in human, it's a very important disease with 5,000 to 10,000 cases reported every year. And it's in human, it's a disease that can be fatal, or that can also lead with neurological consequences. In swine, it's also a problem for reproduction. It can lead to reproduction failure, and you can see JE can be an important cause of G failure in China. And what's happening is actually there is only one serotype of JE, but there are different genotypes. And the question is that is the vaccine that is based on genotype 3 is really effective against all the other genotypes? And the genotype 1 is actually taking over genotype 3 in China. And there is a raising question on is the vaccine based on genotype 3 is really 100% effective against genotype 1 strains. And so these are some data from China that show the number of isolates of genotype 3 in blue, showing that it's taking over genotype 1, and it's happened in the last decade, and it's what's observed in mosquitoes, pigs, and humans. And it can be well, there's different hypotheses on that, but when you look at where you find genotype 3, right, compared to genotype 1, genotype 1 is almost exclusively in pig for mosquito and human, but less in other animals. And so the potential link, and that is something that we want to explore, is that this genotype may be specializing in the intensive pig farming system and developing in large pig farms where you have a lot of mosquitoes, also pigs and humans. But this is one of the questions we will not address in this project. And so this is these are data that show the difference of protection between the vaccine that is made on genotype 3 and genotype 1 infections. And they developed an ELISA test that is supposed to be able to make the difference between genotype 1 and genotype 3 infections to screen, because it's quite difficult to isolate GEV, especially from humans and pigs. And so they test every sample. They're developing the test at the moment, actually, it's not finalized. But it's they test every sample for both genotype 1 against genotype 1 and genotype 3 strains. And the ELISA response is different. It is higher with the homologous strain. So the project started this year with Shanghai Veterinary Research Institute as the lead partner. It's fully funded by the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology. And it was actually the Shanghai Veterinary Research that was looking for an EPI partner and also a European partner, because the grant they got is for promoting also international research. And so it was really nice to have LinkTADs bringing these partners together. We really had no contact between with Shanghai Veterinary Research before this project. And the way they built the project, they really started by asking us, okay, we want to do that. We would like to collect this kind of data. We don't know how to do. What do you think about that? And it was really a good way to work together between the AP and lab, and so between Europe and China. Another example is actually a small example, but it's African swine fever has been discussed a lot during the project, and so we discussed about just maybe writing with some partners a short kind of opinion paper on raising the attention awareness about the risk of African swine fever emerging in China. With African swine fever spreading and its emergence in Europe, what would be the risk of emerging in China, and how could it arrive in China, and what would be the consequence of ASF emergence in China? And so it's been accepted just recently in the veterinary course. And the question is really important because China is now producing half of the pigs in the world, and and so it's 500 million pigs produced every year in China. It's really pigs, and so you can imagine if a disease like ASF was to spread in China, it would be a disaster. And one of the we in the paper we reviewed different potential sources of the virus, but one of the main ones would probably be just contaminated pig products imported in China, and we just look at the pig density here. This is based on work from colleagues that worked from Brussels as well as in the project that developed some animal density maps for Asia by integrating different factors. This is a nice Gilbert team in Brussels University, and so they use different factors, including satellite remote sensing, to have a better idea of animal densities. And we just looked at where are the main airports, and with a very important number of people coming to China from Africa, for example, but also from Europe, where ASF is related, and very high peak densities in the area. It could be in potential entrance. And other potential entrance would be also the import of pig products. And you can see China is producing a lot of pigs and pig products, but it's also importing more and more pig products. And if you look at, this is the total value of pigs and pig products from the last 10 years, it's been really increasing dramatically. It's the same for all the different, if you look at the tons of pig meat preparation, so what you have to say is imported from Europe in particular. Over the last 10 years, it's been, these data are from the FAO stat website. So yeah, it's just an example of collaboration that is just at the beginning. It's just a review on that topic, and that may lead to a research project in the future. Another kind of collaboration we had during the project was not on research but on capacity building, and I mentioned epidemiology. We focused a lot of training of trainers to really develop animal epidemiology in China. There was a program that was already going on, the epidemiology training for a program for veterinary science. And during that program, LinkTADs had to develop the training of trainers, because it's a key element of the program to have a sustainable program and the development of epidemiologists in China, and also some network of transportation. I go very quickly over this because it will be developed more this afternoon in our presentation. But looking at the FSTV program, we really focused on trainers and the training of trainers, and actually it was 10 trainers that were trained during the program, and mostly last year in April and July, with developing the curriculum for China, and developing actually their own syllabus and training methods and how we will teach, and really having trainers ready to go back to their provinces and start to train field epidemiologists in China. So yeah, we had over these years a lot of meetings, workshops between lab and EPI, EU and China partners, identified some research topics, initiated new projects in the framework of the LinkTADs, and also had some trainings and I think built interesting networks for the future. And we have now big research programs that are in the pipelines, and especially the H2020 on antimicrobial resistance. There will be the last meetings and workshop of the project will be coming next month, and there will be 2 full days focused on writing this proposal that we and I think the call is for the early next year. So we need to find that. Thank you for your attention.
Questions to Julien? Any final questions in this part of the session?
Wait till this afternoon.
Okay. No, in the afternoon the meeting will continue, so we will start at 2:50, and we'll start with a more specific presentation regarding Horizon 2020 opportunities and the EU-China flagship projects in the field of bioeconomy and animal health research and so on. So you'll be introduced by your project officer. It might be very interesting for you. So we will welcome you back, hopefully at 2:50, and then we will continue with the next round. And have a really nice lunch.